Pelvic Posse, and welcome to the Empower Your Pelvis Podcast. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Empower Your Pelvis Podcast. I'm Dr. Amanda Fisher, owner of Empower Your Pelvis and host of this podcast. Today is Monday, January 30th. It is the day after the Kansas City Chiefs football team have just beat the Cincinnati Bengals for the AFC Championship. And if you're like us or anybody in Kansas City or anybody who watched that game, oh my gosh, every time, especially this game, but I feel like the Chiefs test my pelvic floor every time they play. But this game against the Bengals, let me just tell you, the score ended 20-23. I honestly don't remember how many minutes were in the game, but it was very close. Could have been seconds. Enough where at the point, I wasn't really watching the game anymore. I was watching my husband. And my husband was giving me such an increase in anxiety. And I could feel my blood pressure picking up because he's over in the corner the last quarter with his hands over his face, like, and he's talking to Mahomes on the screen. He's talking to Travis Kelce on the screen and Chris Jones and Andy Reid and so many other people on the screen who cannot hear him. And he's freaking out and his voice is changing. And my kids are like, Dad, you should go watch the game in the basement because you're being a little cray-cray. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of agreed with him. I know my pelvic floor was clenching, so I can only imagine what my husband's was doing, because in times of anxiety and stress, that's what our pelvic floor does. It squeezes, it clenches. And also, your pelvic floor changes with your voice. So as my husband's voice is like, like freaking out, so is his pelvic floor. So if you didn't come on here today to get a quick tip on your pelvic floor, I'm sorry. Take that as a little gift from me. But that's what this episode's about. The pelvic floor does change with anxiety, with excitement, with stress. But you can also do a lot during that game to help improve the pelvic floor. So for me, I'm doing a lot of rib breathing. I've got my hands wrapped around my ribs. I'm breathing into them to let them expand out like an umbrella opening up, and I'm blowing out to let them close back like an umbrella going straight back together. And I was having to do that. I was having to get into a deep squat. I was in child's pose at some moments because I could just really feel the anticipation of that game. And it was a clincher. It drove me crazy. No joke. And I'll tell you what, though, two things that I absolutely love about that game, and I love about the Kansas City Chiefs, and I say this to my patients at the beginning of every Chiefs football season, are Kelce and Mahomes. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes are two of my favorite reasons, two of my favorite people on the Kansas City Chiefs. Number one, I think my firstborn reminds me of Patrick Mahomes and how he holds himself together. My number two kiddo, I have three boys. My second boy is Travis Kelce to a T. He's there to party. He's the life of the party. He's the funny guy. And they just really remind me of my kids. And what I love about them too, though, is that they work so well together as a team. And when they're both on, they are on. They are on like Donkey Kong. They are working it out together. They are fabulous. They have a great team approach. When they're off, they stink. Things are not working well. And it reminds me of the pelvic floor in a sense, okay? Because we can look at this at two different analogies. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes can be the pelvic floor. Now, there's a lot more muscles in the pelvic floor than just two. Instead of a Kelce and a Patrick Mahomes, there's about 28 different muscles down there. But there's lots of room for compensation and error. When the muscles are working how they're supposed to, they do their job. They hold back urine. They hold up your organs. They let you have orgasms and great sex. They let you pee and poo when you need to. When they're not doing their job, when they're off, right? When Kelce and Mahomes aren't talking right, so is your pelvic floor. Meaning you're going to pee your pants or have fecal smearing when you don't want to. You're going to pass gas when you don't want to. You're going to feel pressure down there. You're going to have pelvic pain. You're going to have low back pain, maybe tailbone pain. So another analogy that I give my patients is your pelvic floor and your glutes are best friends, okay? Just like Kelce and Mahomes. Out here in Kansas City, They have teamed up with Hy-Vee. They have a commercial, and the song is "Let Me Tell You About My Best Friend." And it's Kelce and Mahomes sitting next to each other on the couch. And I laugh and giggle every time I see it because it's what I tell our patients. Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, they are besties, just like your pelvic floor and your glutes should be. If you want a strong pelvic floor doing their job, we need to work through the foundation, make sure they have some range of motion, that they're doing their job. And then we need to add in the glutes, our Kelce, to make sure the strength, stability, and support is there. Without the two, we're going to have some pelvic floor dysfunction. But again, when this time the Mahomes, your pelvic floor, and your Kelce, your glutes are together, man, oh man, you should be having a strong core and pelvic floor where things are working for you. You're lifting weights, you're lifting your kids, and you're not having any issues. Okay. So there you have it. We're 2 weeks out of going to the Super Bowl 2023 for the Kansas City Chiefs. We're super stoked here in Kansas City, but I just had to share a little analogy of how we play in our Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce with the pelvic floor support and strength and their roles, and how we talk about that with our team here, our staff, but also our team of patients. So you know what? If you've got a strong pelvic floor and a strong glutes, you can go anywhere. And I really, truly feel that for our Kansas City Chiefs and our dynamic duo, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Y'all, if you have any questions, please let me know. Please like and subscribe to the show. Share this with friends who need a little tip about the pelvic floor or how they can handle the Super Bowl if it's as anxiety driven as this AFC Championship game was. Until next time, y'all, have a fabulous day and peace out and take care of your pelvis. Bye-bye. Hey, Pelvic Posse. I want to thank you so much for joining into this week's episode of the Empower Your Pelvis Podcast. Can I ask you a couple of favors, please? Number one, can you like and subscribe to this podcast so that you can continue to empower your pelvis forever so that you will never miss out? Number two, can you leave us a rating and a review telling them how amazing we are and everything that you have learned about your pelvic health? And then number three, if you haven't seen the video version of this podcast, you can go over to youtube.com/C/Empower Your Pelvis for all your visual learners out there. We have all types of great visuals in there for you to not only listen to, but to also watch. Thank you so much again, and make sure to give your pelvis some love. Until next time, peace out, Pelvic Posse.